Hey, welcome to WACTS. This is episode 21. This week we're covering what I did from June 22nd to June 27th, 2015. Okay, I haven't even edited last week's episode yet. I'm falling a little bit behind because of the stuff we've got going on with the work laptop, which I usually use to edit the episodes, and that's been turned in, and that's going to be replaced with a new laptop. We just found out that they're not going to actually replace it. They're just going to give us $750 in credit. So what's nice is that's actually going to go towards a new Oculus laptop, which should be a little bit more advanced, maybe have like a GTX 970, maybe 980M, like a mobile version of like the latest and greatest NVIDIA graphics cards. Anyway, I'm kind of headed off in the direction I was going to say I'm going to be anyway, but because I've got so much to do, and I really do kind of just need a bit of a break, says the guy who's been playing all of his train rides playing The Legend of Zelda on his old Game Boy Color, which is great, by the way. I'm going to keep this episode in what I'm going to call just a special stream of consciousness episodes, as though that's not what I normally do. No, categories or anything like that. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my week, because let's be frank, the whole point of these videos really is to watch the transition from, pre-baby stuff to post-baby stuff and all the inter-baby stuff. So maybe I'll just categorize this under baby, since that's the main point of this video blog, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the week. So, this week was particularly interesting for a few reasons. One was that almost all of my nights were busy. On Monday, getting on the train, going to work, I ended up meeting a woman named Pam Levine, who just, came on the train and sat down, and sometimes people want to chat on the train, sometimes they don't. She was really chatty and wanted to say hi, and I thought that was great. She was really fantastic to talk to, and she runs a group called the Pam Levine Design Group, and she has a background in jewelry design. Now she, this is like a luxury retail kind of company, and we got into talking about new media and interactivity and the way that plays a role in retail design. And obviously I've never worked in retail design before, but talking about some of the things, the mobile experience versus the in-store experience, some of the effects that things like augmented reality and virtual reality and 3D printing are going to have on these industries, obviously is very interesting to me. And she was such a sweet woman, and she invited me to come to the opening of a Torno watch store on Tuesday at the corner of Bryant Park on like 42nd and Bryant Park. And so I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. And I showed up, and I wasn't able to actually get on the list because it was already full. And I did this kind of thing where I kind of walked in and I waited in line, and there's the person taking attendance, and there's a security guard right there. And I saw the security guard do one of those what? Yes, okay. And he turned around for a second, and I just walked in. I just walked right in, and went, got a drink, and looking around being like, I don't know any of these people, what am I doing here? And then I saw Pam, and I met her Vice President Dana, and they introduced me to all sorts of lovely people. And within 5 minutes I was super comfortable meeting all manner of really wonderful people. I met a gentleman by the name of Jason, who is one of the partners at a company called D3. It's like a lighting design company, and they are actually also involved in the Ed Sullivan, Colbert stuff, which is kind of cool. I think they're going to be actually building the giant LED, screens, not the projection stuff, but the actual screens that will be in the theater. So it's kind of cool to chat about that. And yeah, just met all sorts of cool people. I'm going to keep it moving here. So then the next night, actually, I ended up also going to another thing that Pam invited me to, which was a panel that she was on Monday when we were chatting on the train. She's like, I don't know why we're still chatting. I should be working on my presentation, because she was moderating a panel discussion about interactivity and, the way, basically all the next step to storytelling and creating an engaging retail experience for people and in all different manners. And so yeah, I met a bunch of cool people at that too. That was at Lightbox. I also met some cool people from a company called Perch, doing a lot of very fascinating coding programming stuff for interactively presenting things. I learned a few things about how important it is to be able to touch products, and when you have things in a virtual environment, how do you create that level of engagement. There also might be a freelance project on the horizon with Pam and her friend Amy. They're doing a super sensory kind of theater experience. We also ended up talking with some people about retail theater, which is not a term I was actually familiar with, but it got me thinking, hey, that'd be kind of a cool thing to get our company involved with. So that was fun. Also on Tuesday during lunch, I think, I got to have a really nice lunch with the folks over at Onsite Opera again, which was really wonderful. I really love these two, Jessica and Eric. Eric, I got to learn a little bit more about his history, being a very, well-established kind of celebrity opera singer at a young age, and working at the Met and doing 8-week non-stop crazy runs, and getting getting really burnt out on that life, you know, and kind of thinking to himself like, wow, well this is the kind of thing I should really be loving and enjoying, and I'm not, so what do I do? And how all that stuff kind of led to him and Jessica creating their own opera company. And we just got into chatting about everything from, you know, the future of their company to doing like an app, you know, program design kind of thing, to maybe, you know, the direction that we might be going with the outline I gave them for my idea for an opera, which is kind of like a, you know, Little Orphan Annie meets The Golden Compass or Lion Witch in the Wardrobe kind of thing. So that was really fun, and they're just such lovely people, and it was great to chat with them. And Monday in general, the Monday where I met Pam for the first time and the week kind of got rolling, was a really good day. It started out pretty bad. I had that great conversation with Pam on the train, and then I started biking to work, and I'm going to my Monday morning meeting, which starts at 10, and I get down to like 34th Street. This is clearly how I bike. It's like I'm boxing in slow motion, and really badly. And then I was like, oh God, I've lost my keys again. Alex, you idiot. How did you do this again in like a 2-week period? And I was so angry at myself, and I'm almost like shaking and like backtracking and like looking on the street and like, how did I do this again? And I'm just taking deep breaths and trying to tell myself it's gonna be okay, but like, for God's sakes, Alex, what's wrong with you? Luckily, I made it all the way back to Grand Central, and my key, my little city bike key fob thing, was still in the machine. And my God, what the heck? I mean, it's wonderful that no one took it, like, thank God. And frankly, that's probably what happened the first time I did that. I probably left a little thing in the friggin' thing, and then, you know, someone took it, or dropped it, or threw it away, who knows? But that's probably what I did the first time, and I was so convinced that I wouldn't do that. Like, it's such a muscle memory thing for me. Stick the thing in, take the bike out, take the key. And maybe something distracted me, but anyway, I was like, this is a terrible day, but I still made it to my Monday morning meeting. Monday was a great day for, you know, the lunch and the Pam stuff, and I finally, after like a month of working so hard on this, finally cracked the Apple problem, which has basically been probably about 2 months ago. My company finally decided that, oh, you know, we should really be working hard on getting the apps I'm making onto iPhones, since so many people use iPhones, especially our collaborators, and we want to be able to send apps to them. The thing we're doing for the Wisconsin School of Music right now, which I think I mentioned last week or a couple weeks ago, involved a really great VR meeting where we had the Oculus Rift and the mobile stuff, and it made for like an ideal design presentation where everyone was on the same page and everyone knew what the space was like and what needed to be done, and it was like 45 minutes, super productive, all done, great. Liz is laughing at me because I ate a pavlova because they're amazing and they're really yummy, and I'm on a bit of a sugar high. I also ate a couple Oreos and a little bit of candy and a bite of a popsicle and a bite of peppermint patty, not sure why. It was like an ideal 45-minute presentation, like exactly what I think virtual reality is capable of, and those guys really want to be able to have our apps, and there's, you know, the offices out in Chicago and other places, and they all have iPhones, and so yeah, I was finally like, okay, I need to figure this out, because last time, you know, I was able to get, for some reason, my iPhone stuff onto people's phones when I was plugging them directly into the computer, like, you know, and that took a lot of time. I think I've talked about that, you know, 5 or 6 episodes ago, about how difficult it was to just get that thing working, where I could plug in a phone to the computer and load the app directly on. But then I tried to do that in a wireless situation, but then I'm getting all these weird Apple Store errors, stuff about like how everything needs to be 64-bit now instead of 32-bit, and the architecture is not correct, and I'm changing settings in Unity to try to fix that, and then I'm getting other weird errors, and none of that made sense. And then finally, you know, I'm still getting weird stuff about how, like, Apple Maco linker error, and I'm not an Xcode programmer, like I don't work in Xcode natively, I just know it's the thing that I need in order to get something from Unity onto a phone. So anyway, the process that finally worked was basically I have to bring the app over into Mac. I think it's a glitch, but right now, even though you can create like an Xcode file and everything from Unity, I can't just take it over, that Xcode file over to the Mac. I actually need to build the project on a Mac, so that's a little bit frustrating, but I did get pretty comfortable with the idea of taking only the important scene that I want to use and exporting the entire package.
That's exactly what I was going to see if I can go in your mouth while you were talking.
Damn it. Alright. And all these weird errors, and anyway, Macintosh stuff, very frustrating, but the final process that worked was I create the build on a Macintosh, and then I create the Xcode project. I open up the Xcode project. I don't clean, I don't debug, I don't do any changes in settings at all. I have to be using the latest version of the Durovis Dive SDK, which is what I use to get the VR thing on a mobile phone. Even though Unity now natively supports VR, it doesn't work really on Mac yet, so I haven't even really touched that, even though I did play with the VR version for Windows, and that worked fine, that was great. But on Mac, back in Xcode, I just do a build, then I do an archive, then I validate the archive. Meanwhile, on my developer account in the Members Center online, I need to create a new app. I need to create the build, the bundle identifier, like com.fisherdax. whatever I'm calling the thing. That needs to match up in the Xcode project. That's also set in the Unity project. I upload it. And then I can invite beta testers if I have a provisioning profile that allows for development and beta testing and test flight and all that kind of stuff. Then I invite everyone who's going to be installing it. This is not just my office, but the other people in other offices. They suddenly need to be like internal testers in order for this to work. They have to install test flight and iTunes Connect, and then they can install the apps, and at that point it's pretty easy, and I can make little adjustments and then just re-upload it, and they all get an email. They also get a weird error email every time I update the build because there's just a little glitchy thing going from Unity to iPhone. Enough of that. Anyway, I was really glad to solve that. I was able to get Shoreditch on there, and Wisconsin's pretty much ready, except right now it's doing a weird polygon problem thingy. I think that has to do with the light maps I was baking, but I think that'll be fine on Monday. Not worried about it. Such a huge relief to get that working. Other stuff this week. Oh, while we're still on the VR thing, I don't think I mentioned last week that on Friday, my friend Dennis Harvey, who works at the Bjark Ingels group, came with his girlfriend, and we had a lovely chat during my lunch break on Friday about all the cool VR stuff we're doing, and he thought it was really cool. And by the way, I think I mentioned him a couple weeks ago because he was at the V-Ray discussion panel, and that was where he actually did the world premiere of the new, 2 World Trade Center V-Ray video, which was really fantastic. Anyway, he got excited by the VR stuff and invited me to give a talk at Bjark Ingels group sometime for what they do like once a month, which is like a very informal popcorn and beer. I think they call them like big speaks or something like that. Big talks, whatever. Some kind of pun on the word big. And so Josh, my boss, who actually has not been super involved in the various talks I've been giving, really wants to be involved with this one. So it'll be interesting kind of working out with him what he wants to talk about versus what I want to talk about, what kind of things we want to showcase. Hopefully we'll have a much better laptop by that point, and we can, really get the Oculus Rift stuff working well in a portable way, and who knows what kind of new stuff I'll be doing with the phone since then. A couple updates I've added to my app is I have tilting left and right now, since we're not really doing like the fast forwarding and rewinding things in our newer apps. Is tilting left will reset you, just put you back in the middle of the room to reorient yourself, and tilting right will swap between a VR and a non-VR version of the app. So if you just want to present something and you're just using the Chromecast to show what's on the cell phone screen on a TV, you can just move stuff around, and that's kind of cool and really easy, and that wasn't very hard to program. The only thing I'm trying to do, which is a suggestion that's come up a couple times that isn't actually that easy, is trying to make it so that when you click on something, like if you see a seat over there and you click it and you go to that seat, rather than just zooming and then be staring at a wall because your head is basically, you're inside the head of that person but still looking the same way, some kind of way to make it so when you click on a seat, you get reoriented back toward the stage. Something about the way both the Oculus and the Dive work make it a little bit difficult to do that in an easy way, even though the Oculus actually has some keys already mapped. I think it's like the E and the Q key or something that will actually rotate you automatically. So, that's VR stuff. More specific baby stuff. Liz's dad and his wife and her son all came up from Virginia. I first got to meet them back in San Francisco right before I was starting my job at FDA, and then I got to see them fairly recently in Washington, D.C. for the Opera America conference again. So I guess it was, I've seen them 3 times on various business trips, and they've been up to our house twice, first for Thanksgiving and now again for this. And they were only here for a little bit, and the primary purpose of the trip, besides seeing them, was that they brought over baby crib stuff, and that was really fantastic and so useful and amazing, because now Liz and I don't even have to think about that. We don't have to be like looking at different options and be like, do we want this one or this one? Fantastic baby crib, fantastic all sorts of pieces of baby stuff. There's cubbies and boxes and toys and books, and so grateful that they're generous enough to bring that up for us, just out of the kindness of their hearts. Meanwhile, this weekend we had some amazing food. Liz was an incredible host as always and cooked some really fantastic dishes, everything from risotto to like almost like a ratatouille sausage kind of thing, veggie and meat options. And yeah, and then we played a lot of board games. We played Seven Wonders and Dominion twice for each game. Both Stevie and James both picked up on it really quickly, and that was really fantastic to play. Seven Wonders I'm liking more every time I play it. I think it has a really nice strategic aspect that comes from the fact that you're seeing everyone's cards. In many ways, it's the opposite of Dominion. In that Dominion, you're so zoned in on just your deck and what you have. And I mean, you know the cards everyone has because you can watch them buy it. But Seven Wonders is really interesting because you're passing the cards around to everyone at the beginning of each round, and you can see, you know, what all the cards are going through, except for the cards that don't make it to you. Anyway, it's what I like about both games. They're both quick, if everyone knows what they're doing. They're both strategic, they both have a very quick setup and breakdown time, and yeah, they both use cards in a really fascinating way, a really strong way, so, you know, there's not a lot of extra pieces that would otherwise kind of clutter things up. So anyway, both really good board games. I give them both 5 stars with a confidence of 5. That's the first rating I'm doing right now. Moving on to entertainment things. There was a lot of stuff outside we wanted to do this weekend, but it's literally rained the whole time. So besides the board games, we also were playing some video games. We played more of Ark. I was showing Stevie that since he's a huge fan of Minecraft, and Ark kind of feels like a little bit more of a adult version of Minecraft, I guess, because you're dealing with more complex issues, staying hot, or staying warm, not getting too cold. The survival thing, the dinosaur thing is cool. The graphics are beautiful. Really impressed with how quickly those guys are updating the program because it's still in, I think, technically an alpha release. I also played a little bit of Tomb Raider. That game is really fantastic. I played a little bit of Portal 2 with him. We beat a few more puzzles. That game is so fun to no end, and I actually really appreciate the fact, you know, 2 or 3 years that we've been playing it, there's still new puzzles to do, and it's really fun to not have that driving kind of anxiousness in me that comes with some games where it's like, I just need to get to the end and figure out what happened. It's like I did the story, and all the cooperative puzzles are just fun, and we can take them at their own pace. And I think literally the last time I played was Thanksgiving when he was here before. So I like the fact that I can just kind of savor that gameplay experience and not be too stressed about it. And then just a brief word about Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. It's obviously a much quicker experience now than I remember being a kid, and I am cheating a little bit whenever I get stuck on something. I'm just looking up like, oh, how do I do this again? But I really like the balance of, you know, the dreamlike kind of aspect of the story that feels very there's kind of a serene quality to it that's quite nice. The music, 8-bit, is amazing. I like the way the dungeons become a little bit more complicated each time. There's a few things you can go back to in older dungeons once you get certain things. I like the trading thing that's so classic in every RPG where it's like, I need a bathroom key. Do you go get the person who likes pineapples and give the pineapples to the person who likes canoeing and then take his paddle and give that to the woman who needs a fishing hook? Whatever. That stuff is really fun, and that ends in this game with getting a boomerang, which is a fantastic weapon, and so I guess I'm at level 6 now, and it's just a joy. I'll probably beat it this week, but you know, RPGs, especially since last year I was playing Legend of Legaia, and I think it took me like 45-50 hours to beat it. It's really nice to be able to, you know, crack this guy out and feel like I'm going to beat the whole game in like probably under 15, under 20 hours, something like that. So that's great. That's video games. Obviously, I'm still watching a bunch of TV shows, not much to say about a lot of them. Orange is the New Black, Liz and I are taking it at our own pace. I like it a lot so far. Bloodline, I watched a couple more episodes. Hannibal is still amazing. I had a bit of a snafu with Amazon where I was trying to watch it on my Kindle, and then it was kind of breaking down, and even though I downloaded it and it wasn't streaming, I was getting errors about like, streaming bandwidth is really low, and it's like, of course it's low. I'm underground, but I downloaded the episode, so it should be okay. Amazon customer service, as usual, is amazing, and they were like, we're so sorry, here, have $3, and it'll never happen again, so that's very sweet of them. Speaking of Amazon, our rotor's gotten so bad that we've just told FedEx and UPS, like, it's okay, you don't have to come up, you can just put packages down by the mailbox, which is kind of sad. There was actually a road meeting on Saturday that lasted about 2 hours, and the drama of that is really interesting. I mean, it was really cool to sit down with everyone on the road. I mean, not everyone, it was like 10 of us, and just have a real sit-down meeting talking about, like, what do we do? We're on this unmaintained road, and it's just going to keep getting worse, and there's, like, certain Band-Aid things we can do right now, but is the ultimate goal to pave it? Is the ultimate goal to try to find a way to give it over to the town? Sounds like that's basically impossible. You know, how do we make the road accessible, and everyone on the road has different income levels, and how do we have everyone putting in their fair share? And there's the whole question of like, well, you know, do you just pay for your section of road, or do you only pay for a little bit of everyone's road, or do you only pay for the road that you're driving past? And yeah, so that's all been an interesting debate, and the kind of discussions that we never would have gotten into in Brooklyn, because it's like, oh, the road is, you know, it's Lexington Avenue, it's a big important road and all that. Interestingly, I think we're going to start doing a like $70 a month, just adding to a bank account using PayPal to like, work all that out, and that will help pay for, fixing the road in the winter. And then we're also going to start doing some road repairs. There's a machine that needs to get repaired that I forget what it's called, but it should allow us to grate and do some graveling and all good stuff like that. The most important thing that I think came out of the meeting is actually the fact that everyone on our road is paying something like a $400 water tax, and that's a tax that's been going back many, many years, and everything on our road used to be like summer cabins, like hunting lodges, that kind of thing, and so no one was ever here during the winter, none of that was important, and there used to be pipes that sent extra water here during the summer. Everyone has their own well, but summer of course can get dry, so everyone had a way to get a little bit of extra water. Everyone pays a water tax on this road. There has been no summer water for years. None of the stuff we even knew about when we got here. We just knew there was a well. And so yeah, it's like a lot of money every year that could be going towards something like, the road. So we're actually going to start speaking to local representatives, local congressmen, small town politics kind of stuff, which could be really interesting, learning about if there's any way we can no longer have that tax, which would be great. There's certainly precedence for it. There was something in Cortland not too long ago where a bunch of people had petitioned to no longer be paying a sewer tax since they all have their own septic systems, like we do. So hopefully that'd be really cool if that would be something that we could do, because, the worst part about that is if you're paying a tax on something and A, not getting any direct benefit from it, but B, if you have your own system for it and then it breaks down and then you get no help. So like if anything goes wrong with our septic system or our well or anything like that, it's not like the town then steps in and says, oh, well, you are paying taxes for that, so we'll help you fix that or replace it or whatever. That's totally on us. So, we love our house, we love our location, but there are some kind of silly things with the property tax laws here. So we'll see how that goes. That could be kind of fun. Back to entertainment. The big thing that I forgot to mention last week and just wanted to bring up very briefly, there's a really fantastic show on USA called Mr. Robot. I've been describing it to people as kind of Fight Club meets The Matrix. It has this great kind of like, government conspiracy thing going on, but with like hackers, and there's this kind of rebellious aspect to it, and I love the acting, I love the character development. It's one of the best pilots I've ever seen in my life, and it's on USA. I don't watch any shows on USA, so I was really impressed by that. I actually hopped on the Facebook page to tell, the show what a great show I thought it was. I think I just said something like, this is the best show USA has ever done. And I got this weird message that was like, hi Alex, will you send us your mailing address? And I was like, that seems very strange for a show that's all about like government conspiracies and no privacy and everyone knowing too much about you. But I sent them my address, and maybe they'll send me a Frisbee or something, so that could be kind of cool. Also for entertainment, listen, I just watched Her Majesty's Secret Service, or Secret Service on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Kingsman, that was it. Kingsman, Her Majesty's Secret Service, but maybe a different subtitle. Colin Firth, so cool to see him in an action role. This was a really fun movie. I definitely felt the influence of Matthew Vaughn and Kick-Ass and the kind of, Mark Miller stuff that we've seen before. It was just a really fun movie and very evocative of the older Bond movies, as they say in the movie, that were a little bit more fun, a little bit more stylized, not so worried about realism. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. It's a fun movie, and check it out. And the weird thing though is, while Samuel L. Jackson's character in this movie, his plan, his evil plan, while it doesn't actually make a lot of sense, the intention is actually one of those things where you're like, well, yeah, that's like a real problem. Like what do we do about that? So by the end of the movie, the main character actually says, like, I'm saving the world. And you're kind of like, is he though? Because the problems being described that Samuel L. Jackson's trying to fix, like, those are real problems that could still result in the end of the world. Anyway, that's kind of interesting, so there's that. Total side note for anyone who has seen Kingsman. The stuff in the sports arenas toward the end, did anyone else kind of think like that just looked normal? Like that just looked like a normal sports game? One last thing I wanted to mention, something that's been keeping me up kind of late, but not very late at all, is Alex Schmidt, my good friend from Syracuse, does a fantastic segment on Cracked called New Guy Weekly. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. And he is doing like a pseudo finale kind of episode for it. And I don't want to give away the plot line, but basically it involves a time machine. And he asked me if I could do some visual effects for it, and I was very much honored and happy to do it. And it was really great to be able to pull that off. And yeah, I hope anyone who watches that episode likes it, and I had a lot of fun doing some special effects. I'm really grateful for the number of paid freelance jobs, all these side projects I have that are so different from one another, and it's really a joy. So I'm so grateful for that, and I hope I can keep some of these things going when the baby comes along. We'll see. Like, I could be watching this video 5 years from now thinking, like, how did I ever have enough time to do all these side projects? Because yeah, like, I want to say that I'm going to be a caring enough father that baby will always come first, and side projects, no matter how lucrative, will always come second. But I want to believe that it's also possible, in some respect, to accommodate the two, and maybe sometimes have them work together, and cuddle the baby and be doing some kind of quiet thing, or reading a book or something. We'll see. Oh, one thing I think I need to briefly explain or talk myself through. I'm not a person who enjoys killing, per se, and I haven't never been the person to kill much of anything, even bugs. So, when Liz told me that we had some tent caterpillars that were taking over our blueberry bushes and that we needed to burn them all to death, that sounded kind of harsh to me. That being said, as soon as I saw them, I think I came home Monday night, my good day, and realized that these monsters, and there were like thousands of them, making these webs and killing the bushes and taking over all of it and destroying our precious blueberries, I felt such a primal urge to destroy them. And so, what did we do? Made a big fire, beautiful, beautiful outside. We cooked some food, and we burned like 1,000 tent caterpillars. And yeah, it felt both horrible and good. It's a sensation that I'm still kind of grappling with. I don't think this will lead to, killing larger creatures or anything like that, so don't be too worried. But yeah, if I have to do something like this again, it'll be good to talk about it. Thanks for listening. That's it for this weekend. Thank you for watching. Sorry for the insane stream of consciousness. I'm, as you might have guessed, doing this a lot more for me than for, public consumption. And if you enjoy it, fantastic. I'm so glad you do. And if not, I apologize. Next week, I think, is going to be, this coming week, I really want to be able to focus on figuring out what we're going to do about our cars. So that's going to be a little bit more research into leasing versus buying used versus, whatever other options there are. Leasing, buying used, wouldn't be buying new, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I hope we can figure out what we're going to do about our Mazda. Maybe we'll do some kind of trade-in thing. Maybe we'll sell it to someone else and let them know, like, it's probably not going to pass inspection. Be careful. And, don't get it inspected. Anyway, so we'll see how that goes. Have an excellent week. Baby stuff. Baby is so kicky, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that. There's so much kicking going on. You can feel this guy doing somersaults and, like, headbutts, and, like, I feel like he's going to be a soccer player, which would be great, but yeah. No videos this week. Just wanted to say that the big thing coming up this week will be that my dad and his wife Debbie will be coming to visit us over July 4th weekend, which will be kind of nice because I think for the past 3 or 4 years we've gone to visit them up in Massachusetts during this weekend, and unfortunately it's not a 4-day weekend like my office usually does because July 4th is on a Saturday, but why am I complaining about days off? It's going to be great. Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do a barbecue or something. Maybe my dad can help me fix my lawnmower. James tried really hard. He is fantastic with those things, and he's pretty convinced that there's some little problem with like a pin in the carburetor, and it could just mean that that's it. But we'll see. Could be fun. I'm probably going to play a bunch more video games this week. Hopefully the laptop gets worked out, and I'll tell you what we got and what I think of the specs of it. And yeah, have a good week.